Praise be Jesus Christ, now and forever. So let's talk about 3 reasons why you should have a devotion to St. Joseph. March 19 is the Solemnity of St. Joseph, but because it falls on a Sunday this year, 2023, the solemnity is transferred to Monday the 20th. It's a solemnity, which means that it's higher than a feast. That is to say, it's a very important day in the life of the Church. In fact, not so long ago, it was a holy day of obligation until the obligation was suppressed. Nevertheless, it's still a holy day. But also, the entire month of March is also dedicated to St. Joseph. So it's a good time for us to consider why we must have a devotion to St. Joseph. Number 1, because families are under attack, particularly against marriage and against the child in the womb. But also, even the definition of the family itself is under attack. Abortion, divorce, euthanasia, rejection of God's plan for marriage, etc., etc. The institution of the family is under attack from so many directions. Our culture does very little to support families to help them thrive. In many ways, it does the opposite by promoting things, habits, lifestyles, values that are harmful to families. Parents who are trying to raise holy children have so much going against them. But families are the building block of the society. Healthy families, healthy culture. Holy families, holy culture. We need holy families. Father John Hardon reminded us of that over and over again. St. Joseph is the patron saint of families. It was God himself who placed St. Joseph in charge of the Holy Family, set him as its head. And he served Jesus and Mary by protecting them from harm. And this is why families should have a place of honor for St. Joseph in their homes. Families, place St. Joseph in charge of your family. Ask that he protect your family from harm. Number 2, because the Church is under attack. This is not anything new, of course. The Church of Christ has always been under attack. But today we really feel the weight of all the attacks and hatred against God's holy Church, the Catholic Church. Anti-Catholicism is becoming more and more prevalent. But not all attacks come from without. Some come from within. We see these days attacks against the Church's tradition, against her liturgies, against her sacraments. We're seeing entire synods of bishops calling for changes in the timeless teachings of the Church. We're seeing the whole structure of the Church being upended, the deconstruction of the priesthood, etc., etc. And that's why we, the faithful, need to always be praying for the Church. We should always be defending the Church. We should always be standing with the Church. It was Pope Pius IX who, in 1870, declared St. Joseph to be the universal patron of the Church. There is a beautiful line in Pope Leo XIII's prayer to St. Joseph. As once you rescued the child Jesus from deadly peril, so now protect God's holy Church from the snares of the enemy and from all adversity. The Church has always had many enemies. Her faithful members are always under attack, even more so today. Entrust the Church to St. Joseph in your prayers, both the Universal Church and the Church in America, as well as the Church in the Archdiocese of Detroit, and of course our parish as well. Ask St. Joseph to protect her from all harm. And the number 3 reason why we need to have a devotion to St. Joseph is that we are all going to die one day. Memento mori. Now, that, of course, is not something any of us likes to think about, and yet we know very well that it is true. What's important is that we strive to remain in the state of grace at all times. St. Joseph is the patron saint for a happy death. But what does that mean, and how did he get that title? Tradition tells us that St. Joseph died with Jesus and Mary at his side. There's no better way to die than that. St. Joseph gave his life in service to Jesus and Mary as head of the Holy Family, and so he died as he lived in the company of those 2 holy hearts. St. Joseph tells us to live for Jesus and Mary. You could say that he's the first to consecrate himself to the Blessed Mother. He teaches us that if we live for Jesus and Mary, they will be at our side when we die as well. So, those are 3 reasons why we should have a devotion to St. Joseph. But how do we have a devotion to St. Joseph and not just say that we are devoted to St. Joseph? Well, here at St. Edward, we say prayers to St. Joseph after Mass every Wednesday. Why Wednesday? Because traditionally, Wednesdays are dedicated to St. Joseph. The first of those prayers is the Litany of St. Joseph. The second is the Memorare of St. Joseph. And the third is the Prayer of St. Joseph, composed by Pope Leo XIII. Any or all of those prayers would be good to incorporate into your own prayers. You can also set up a statue or icon of St. Joseph on your home altar. Don't have a home altar? You can make a home altar. St. Joseph was a carpenter, you can pray for his help. Make a home altar and place a statue or image of St. Joseph on it. You can make a pilgrimage to a site dedicated to St. Joseph. A few years ago, I went to the shrine of St. Joseph in Grass Lake. If you're feeling more adventurous than that, the Oratory of St. Joseph in Montreal is a great place to visit. I've been there 2 or 3 times myself. St. Andre Bessette, who had a great devotion to St. Joseph, is buried there. You can also do the Consecration to St. Joseph. The book by Father Dan Calloway is a great book to follow. St. Alphonsus Liguori, he said, "We must be convinced that in consideration of his great merits, God will not refuse St. Joseph any grace he asks for those who honor him." The saints throughout the centuries had a great love and devotion to St. Joseph. St. Francis de Sales, St. Teresa of Avila, St. Faustina, just to name a few. And that's another reason why we too should have a devotion to St. Joseph. Ite ad Joseph, go to Joseph. May he intercede for our families and our church. God bless you.